This is my research project for, my name is Gordon Silva. This is my research project into Harry Partch's temperament system and also an introduction to microtonal music. So microtonality, it's not that bad. Basic idea is that there's notes in between the standard Western musical notes that you are used to. So this right here is the standard Western musical octave. It's called chromatic, the chromatic C scale, and I'm going to play it for you now. So that is what's called 12 notes per octave. So it takes one octave, divides it up into 12 notes. But you heard 13 notes because it plays one note twice. Microtonality suggests that there is actually pitches in between all of the pitches that you just heard. So this is one thing that you could do where you take basically those same 12 notes and you pitch up, copy them and pitch them up so that this note, for example, is halfway between this note and this note. So you get 24 notes per octave. And so that on a piano sounds like this. That's called a quarter tone scale, quarter tone chromatic scale, you could call that. Great. So whenever a note is sounded on a piano, on a string instrument, anything like that, you have from the nut to the bridge, that is called the open fundamental. And every time you play it, there is all of these overtones created. It's called the Overtone Series. And those overtones are described by taking half of the length, and then a third of the length, a fourth of the length, a fifth of the length, and then so on and so forth. And when you take all of those harmonic overtones and you take them at their specific levels, that gives you the sound of the instrument. That's actually how they timbre. That's how an oboe sounds different than a flute, for example, or a piano sounds different than anything else. Anyway, and then what you get is every time you pluck or play a string, you get all these overtones. And then when you get, say, this octave here, which is doing a 2, to this octave and a fifth, which is doing a 3, you get a 2 to 3 ratio. You put that together and you get an interval. And so that is the basic idea for how you create intervals and chords. And so you can hear that this 2 to 3 ratio right here, I'm playing for you a 2 to 3 ratio, perfectly intonated, and that's going to be a perfect fifth. So that's going to be the third note that you hear, followed by the perfect fourth, which is this fourth over the third, 4 over 3, and then major third, which is 4 over 5, major sixth, which is 3 over 5. And there's a little beep at the end. So this is just intonated intervals. Pure tones. So in tuning, this is the notes of the harmonics of a C note. So this is, if you were to take all the harmonics that are created when you play a C note, would be them written out on a sheet of music. And so you get the first partial, which is the C, the second partial, which is also a C, just an octave higher, and then this is an octave plus a fifth. So that's going to be a G right there. So if we take this fifth partial, for example, this is an E note, and that is sounding, this as this chart is telling us, this is sounding at 14 cents lower than an E note played by an instrument just normally. So what that is doing is that there is, what that is saying is that there is parts of the notes that are not in tune with the other notes in this tuning system. And so what Charles Ives wanted to do was eliminate that difference, eliminate that 14 cents. He didn't like that at all. And so he wanted to do something called just intonation. And the way he did it was really interesting. These are the important texts. This is On the Sensations of Tone by Hermann Helmholtz. It inspired Harry Partch to look into tonality and tuning systems in a different way. This is one of his pieces. This is one of Harry Partch's pieces. It uses a bunch of the instruments that we'll talk about later. This is Genesis of a Music, where this is his treatise, where he talks about all of his ideas and how he made the instruments and all that stuff like that. This is a really important microtonal piece from an American composer called Charles Ives, where you play it with one piano that is tuned normally and one piano that is tuned a quarter tone higher. Harry Partch, he was born in 1907. He died in 1974, I believe. He served in World War II, and he spent a lot of his time making instruments, and he really hated equal temperament. And so, yeah, this is him. This is what he, the basis of what he was trying to do. He really liked this idea of what's called a tonality diamond. And I know this is scary at first, but it's really not that bad. This is the framework that he used to create the tuning system that he would base most, if not all, of his music compositions on. So what are we looking at here? Right here, this 8-7, this is what we're going to call home for now. And so all this is going up here is that this is the harmonic series. Specifically, these are the partials 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, going up just like that. And then and that's how this row is constructed. To get to this row, we're now saying that this is home, and we're going 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, and those harmonic overtones. But to get from here to here, this is just going down a minor third, and then we're going down a minor third again, minor third again, minor third again, minor third again. And what's interesting is that once you do that, is you get the overtone series, and you get what's something called the undertone series. And so it's basically just the same relationship of the notes, it's just flipped on its head. But as you go up like this, you're able to say, like, these are just the harmonics, these are the harmonics, these are the harmonics, and so on and so forth. And so you get major thirds going up this way, and then you get minor thirds going down this way. And so you can get a lot of notes like that. Why is this cool? It's taking this idea of just intonation and putting it into the physical space that someone can actually play and work with. And that is really important. So you get a lot of those intervals, like the 2/3, and you get the 5/3, and you get the 6/5, and the et cetera, that you can work with and play with and make music with. This right here is the man himself. This is Harry Partch. I know what I'm talking about. And he is playing this bell tree, this gourd tree actually, which is temple bells affixed to gourds, which I just think is so funny. And then he's also playing some other instruments of his. This right here is what's most important. This is the tonality marimba, called the Diamond Marimba, which is basically the physical manifestation of this graph right here. As well on this is we have some bass kalimbas as well. Down here, this is called a sound cannon, which is basically a zither played with either mallets or plucked with a plectrum, and you can move the bridges anywhere you want to create whatever kind of, to basically just adapt it to whatever tuning system you need. And then over here, this is the cloud, oh gosh, what's it called? Cloud, cloud chamber, that's what it's called, which is hanging glass bowls that he made by cutting gigantic carboys in half and just hitting them and saying they sound nice, so I'm gonna make an instrument out of them. So yeah, for me, microtonality and learning about all this stuff is just a mind expansion exercise, just kind of like show like how the music that I listen to and the music that I know is such a small fraction of the music that's out there. And that is really, really cool. In my own practice, I haven't been able to make a microtonal piece that I've been really happy with, but I am still learning, and I'm still like the process of learning the theory and the chords and how they sound together is what is really interesting to me. Yeah, so this is my bibliography, and that's all I have.